Hi, let's try this again. I can't live without money. Really grateful for the feedback of someone who reminded me that I was going too fast and I was missing some important points. And so I want to kind of slow down today and kind of give you a much better sense of where we're going on this journey. So, someone who I respect said to me, Deborah, I've looked at some of your videos. I like your content. Like, I really feel you. I know where you're headed, and I'm I can tell. Like, I really believe in your mission or your vision. Except, I just don't understand why you keep making me feel like I can't have money. Like I should just not care about money, not make any money, just care or not care about making any money and just focus on purpose and my deeper calling, and that's just not realistic. That doesn't put food on the table, doesn't pay bills, it doesn't take care of my kids. And I was like, yes, I get it, and I apologize that this was not made clearer before, but I want to make it clearer now. So I'm hoping, as always, that what I'm about to share with you feels expansive to you. If it feels incredibly restrictive or it puts you into a panic or fear, then probably this message isn't for you. However, hang with me for a little bit. Let me tell you something about me that I think will help you uh, get the exercise we're about to go through. Um, I call myself a purveyor of frames. So now think about, like, just let's use a simple example, right? Let's think about glasses frames, right? There's so many different shapes and colors and styles and manufacturers or designers. And so you can go through, I know people, I see them, they have like a whole closet space just for their glasses frames because they like to have different looks, and each frame will give you a completely different look, right? Like some will make you look more serious, some will make you look more playful, some will make you look younger, some will make you look older. I mean, you name it. Some will go better with a certain style of clothing, others with, So think about this. I'm a purveyor of frames of reference or frames of perspective. So, just like glasses help you to see things more clearly, these frames and the frames matter in terms of how you appear. These frames are matter in terms of how you see the world around you. And so I go to countless trainings and webinars. I read. I'm not a book reader per se. I'm more of a book listener. I like to listen to audiobooks. I listen to countless audiobooks. I read countless articles and posts and I'm always excited when someone's going to give me like a new frame, a new way of looking at the world. I'm like, ooh, let me hear what this person has to say. Let me get into this. Like I get really excited. I get the popcorn and I'm sitting ready. Um, Most of the time I'm like underwhelmed, but sometimes I find really, really useful frames. Either they just make something so much easier to understand, or they help me to really feel better about life. And those are the ones that I keep. Okay. So I may try on a bunch of different frames, but the ones that I end up buying and taking home and keeping in my closet are the ones that help me to feel better about myself and the world around me. Um, the more compassionate the frame, more likely I'm going to get it, right? And I'm going to keep it. And so I want to give you a frame now to try on. And I want you to kind of suspend judgment until you've really tried it on and looked at it, and looked at how you look and how your world looks when you look at life through this frame. So I hope, first of all, I hope that that helps you to understand some things. Now, coming to this idea of money, we can't really look at money by itself. We kind of need to look at the whole big picture. And while unfortunately, the way that we've learned economics, which is not anyone's fault, it's just the way that it's been taught, is basically money is, you know, pretty much everything in it. That's how the system is fueled. Um, but in truth, in another frame that I'm about to give you now, money is a part of it, but it's not everything, not even close. Okay. And so I'm going to call this not even close. Okay. And so I'm going to call this the gift economy, how the system is fueled. Um, okay. So I don't really care what you call it. Technically, it actually moves outside of the realm of economics and it moves into the spiritual realm. Um, and when I say spiritual, I don't mean dogmatic or religious or any of that. I just mean that these principles are beyond what we can see, touch, tangibly experience for the most part. I know that there's scientists working on pulling some of this into the observable realm, but for right now, a lot of it at the beginning when you're starting is really going on faith. But that's only the beginning. Eventually, it starts to become belief because you start to see proof of it. But I get ahead of myself. Okay, so in the gift economy, which is what I'm calling it, um, I want you to just think about this as an alternate to the economy that we're aware of, which is, you at a certain age, you've got to work to make money to pay for your housing and your food and your everything. And if you don't work in some form, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur or whatever it is you do, if you're not in some form working, then that's only because you're retired or you're a minor, right? If you're a minor or you're retired, you may receive benefits from the government that mean that you don't have to work, ideally, to meet your needs. And then everybody else has to figure out something to do to be of service and of value to society. And when you're of service and value to society, you are rewarded with congratulations, your basic needs being met, and maybe beyond a little beyond your basic needs. This is where most of us have been thinking. Then, of course, you have the 1% who operate on slightly different rules. They don't work, they use their money to make more money. They use other things, they let time help them to make more money. And they have other people working for them, so they're not working. Um, they are very much, it's a very much an ownership model. So the more that you own, the more titles and deeds you have in your name, the more you're considered successful and the more wealthy, the more financial wealth you gain. Okay, so we kind of know how this story works. I'm going to call this business as usual. I also call it the money economy. Kind of depends on the day. Sometimes I call it capitalism, sometimes I call it colonialism. And I know these are all very, very different terms, but they're all interconnected. So I don't really care. It's call it what you want. Okay. But for right now, we're just going to call it business as usual. Um, in the gift economy, it's an alternate way of looking at the world. So here's kind of how the gift economy works. Now, again, I just want you to kind of try this frame on, see how it feels to you. The other one I described is old. You already know how it feels because you've lived it. Okay, business as usual, you've lived it. This may not be so familiar to you. So in the gift economy, your right to everything you need is your existence. So basically, because you exist, you are deserving and receive your shelter, your food, your clothing, your entertainment, your medicine. It's all part of being alive, just because you're alive. Does that mean that you do nothing? No, but it means that you're not worried about meeting your basic needs. They're already handled, it's already taken care of. How? The gifts that you receive, the gifts of air, water, trees to climb or mountains to climb, soil to grow food, grass. Yes, you still gotta till the soil. You still gotta grow the food. You still gotta take down the branches and use them to craft a home for yourself. However, the materials are already supplied and your creativity is already supplied. So all it is putting it together. You don't have to pay anyone for anything. And If you do have money, it's used as a form almost of gratitude and thanks that you pass to someone else, and it's passed to someone else, and it's passed to someone else. But in no way does it represent a means to meet your basic needs, because your basic needs are met outside of money. Everything belongs to everyone in the sense that, and when I say everything, I mean things that are not improvements. So if you think about like real estate, you have land and then you have the improvements on the land, which might be a sidewalk or a house or a barn or a well. That was an improvement that a human came and put their effort into making. But the land itself was a gift. Nobody charged us originally. It wasn't like the earth was like, okay, you got to pay me money to stand here. Nope, never happened. Everything that we have around us has been a gift. The ability to eat different, to stand here. Nope, never happened. Everything that we have around us has been a gift. The ability to eat different fruits, vegetables, all those, do anything to earn those because we exist. Just like the bees don't have to pay rent, just like the ravens don't have to pay rent, just like the earthworms don't have to pay rent, just like the cheetahs don't have to pay rent, just like the whales don't have to pay rent. You catch my drift? They don't have to pay rent. They don't have to pay for groceries. They eat and they live as they need to. Same thing for us. We're just another species on the planet. But we were gifted with the creativity and the minds to be able to be stewards of all life on this planet. And as we're stewards, working with land and soil and water and air and animals and birds and fish and insects, as we work in harmony with all life, we are rewarded with more gifts. Gifts from the bees in the form of pollination of beautiful flowers and honey. We are rewarded with gifts of the dolphins giving us rides in the water. We are rewarded with gifts of beautiful sunsets, clean air, delicious, sweet, sparkling, pure water. We are rewarded with warmth, love, beautiful relationships with other species. This is all a gift, and we respond in gifts by giving gifts to others, whether humans or not, in gratitude for all that we've received. And no one is hungry. Everyone has plenty to eat. Everyone has experiences plenty of love. And everyone gets a chance to share their gifts, their talents. They get to give those gifts to others and have the joy of being appreciated and valued for who they are. This is the gift economy. And this is the economy in which Global Village runs. So I used to say that Global Village is inside of all of us, and it's true, but it's dormant if we're operating in the business as usual economy and way of thinking. It's dormant. It may bother us to varying degrees, but the actual awareness and consciousness, the planetary consciousness, which goes beyond centering humans to centering all life on the planet, that consciousness is dormant until it is awakened. And right now, it is being awakened in people all over the world every day. But then once it's awakened, here's the clincher. I was just speaking with a colleague about this, and they were saying, I sometimes I wish I didn't know. Sometimes I wish I didn't have this awakening experience because now I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? People around me don't understand me. I look crazy to everybody. If you've ever felt that way, raise your hand in the comments. I would love to see so that we can be a source of solidarity and support to others who feel that way. So let's take off this frame that we just put on and we can put back on our business as usual frames. And I just want you to take a moment and feel into your body and see how you're feeling. How are you feeling after that experience of taking a step into the gift economy? Does it sound too good to be true? How does it feel? Maybe it doesn't sound too good to be true. Maybe it sounds horrible and you don't want to be there. If it doesn't sound like somewhere you'd want to be, you feel free to keep on moving to the next video at this point. But if it sounds like somewhere that you would love to live, keep listening because it is possible. It's a journey. I'm not going to say that you're going to get there overnight. No. However, it is possible. There are people who are living that way right now. And I want to introduce y'all. I'm not to say that I know all of them, of course not, but I know a few I would love to introduce. I would love people to start to get to know a different type of normal, a different standard. So, in this gift economy and how people work, live, and operate, there are obviously some different beliefs, paradigms, rules that are applying than in the business as usual economy that we're familiar with. That's been dominant up through now, but is on its descent, as we can clearly see. That's very obvious. This is where I speak and operate from. So now, if we come into zoom back into money, you see how it's kind of irrelevant when you start to zoom out to the gift economy? The gift economy is actually what's keeping us all alive in this moment. If it wasn't existing, none of us would be here. We'd all be dead because none of us could have afforded to pay our moms to breastfeed us or to pay our parents to for room and board, to pay our grandparents for babysitting, uh, to pay up to the soil, to the waterways, to the winds and the mountains for cleaning the air and for providing us with what we needed to survive, the nutrients we needed. No, there's no way. We would all be dead if it were not for the gift economy. That's actually what's keeping us alive. Instead of being there and saying thank you for the gifts and focusing on reciprocity by giving our gifts to all, we've turned this into some real joke of an ego trip of, hey, I'm going to take as much money as I can. I'm going to make as much as I can. I'm going to build my empire. And somehow that's what I'm here to do. No. That having been said, no judgment. And this was a phase that our species had to go through. Before colonialism, there were wars, pillaging, ravaging, fighting, horrible things happening. It didn't just start with colonialism. So let's just be real. It's been a very baked in part of the human story, violence and selfishness and destruction. And it is part of us maturing from being babes to starting to mature into adolescents and young adults who are starting to realize, oh, maybe I'm not the center of everything. Maybe there are others who are serving me, and maybe it's time for me to start to pay attention to what they need. Very similar to when a young adult starts to see their parents in a new light. Hmm, how's that feeling? It feels good to me. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is not about money, it's about understanding that we are cared for by gifts. We're all cared for by gifts, no matter how wealthy and exploitative or extractive a system has become, or an individual has become. They would not be alive were it not for the gift economy. They wouldn't even make it one day. So we already are all equals. We are all indebted for the gifts that we have received to be alive and in existence on this planet. It's already a given. Now, how we choose to be and what we choose to pursue, that's all up to us. Each of us has something unique that only we can give the world. No one else can. Are you pursuing that? If you are, you will quickly notice how your pursuit of your purpose and the money economy, the business as usual economy will butt heads. And because the business as usual economy has been set up for hundreds of years, and you're a lot younger than that, you're going to be like, man, this stuff is really hard. And you're going to think that the question is, should I be myself or should I survive? But that's the wrong question because, as I've just shared and laid out for you, every single one of us is alive because of the gift economy, not because of our work and our efforts and our merits. Next time somebody pays for your coffee, the next time somebody does something nice for you, that's part of the gift economy. That's paying it forward. That's what it means to be human. So how do we interface with these systems that are just so out of alignment with that gift economy? That's tough. As I was saying we were discussing today with my colleague, it's hard. It's hard to have this awareness and then still be having to interface in the matrix. It's not easy, but it is doable. There are people doing it. And right now, our directive is to connect, is to meet each other, it's to support one another, it is to join forces instead of trying to do things individually, which just doesn't work. Okay. So I'm going to just pause there. And I hope that without directly addressing the money question, I addressed it because it is a small piece of a much larger puzzle. And if what I shared with you resonates, then we should talk. Because what this work is not about hype, it's not about selling, it's not about profit over purpose or people or planet. It's about living what we're here to live. It's about being true to our divine assignments, to our unique callings. So if this resonates, then let's talk because that is what my message is about. Global Village is a beautiful place, and it's a place that you can get to. But it does take a little bit of skillful navigation. And that's what I'm here to partner with purpose driven leaders in doing as individuals and as organizations. All right, I would love to read your thoughts in the comments.